You've all had a chance to review the agenda. Could we have a motion to approve the agenda as read, or any changes to the agenda? John?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chair. I move the approve the agenda with the moving of item 7.2 to our next regularly scheduled council meeting, which would be in December.
Thank you. Do we have a seconder for that? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Thank you. Contrary, nay. You've had a chance to review the minutes from October 23rd regular, October 23rd in camera, November 13th committee of the whole, and November 13th in camera. Any errors or omissions in those minutes? If not, would someone make a motion to accept those minutes as presented? Okay. Do we have a seconder for that? All in favor? Aye. Contrary, nay. Thank you, gentlemen. Warden's remarks, I'll be short. It's been fairly busy. I had a chance to participate in the Men Against Violence walk on Saturday. Hope I see all the councillors wearing purple ribbons, and it's good. It's a good cause, and I appreciate all the people that work to make us aware of that and to strive towards that. Also, you can't hear me, but as you all know, the World Junior Ace was another success story, in large part to all the volunteers. I think nearly 200 that worked hard to make that and a success. And we were presented along with the town and the municipality of Argyle from the World Junior Ace plaque, which will hang here somewhere in the building. So it gave me pleasure on behalf of the municipality to accept that from the World Junior Ace Association. Also gives me pleasure tonight to make two presentations to two men in the community who do a lot of work, volunteer work, and I would ask Laurie Shaw and Sylvester Burke to come forward, please. And now, Mr. Beck, if you want to come forward and give your presentation to council. You have are you going to speak through the presentation?
Yeah.
Okay, there's a mic there. If you want to turn it on, I'll turn you on.
Yeah.
You're good to go. Thank you.
Okay, test. Okay. And the control for Oh, there we go. Yeah, here we go. All right, I'm at the beginning. Thank you, warden, members of council, and audience who's leaving just in time. Thank you. It's a pleasure to be here in Yarmouth. It's been many years, and looking forward to actually a good start to the study and successful completion. So we appreciate the opportunity to work for the municipality. What I'm going to do is just give you a quick, I know you're pressed for time, but just a quick overview of what we're doing. I'm not going to be talking about a lot of numbers. I'm just going to give you a good grasp of where we're coming from in our approach to the study. So that's our consulting team. I've got 40 years experience. I've worked for a municipality as well as Charles Fitzsimmons. He's worked in the paratransit field. And Ron Mullins, he used to run King's Transit Authority, and I've worked with him as a client, and he's working on our team. So as you can see, we've got a lot of Nova Scotia experience. My career starting in Halifax is where I fell in love with the field. So an overview, just that's what I'm going to be talking about. And this is key, and this is how we're interpreting the study, and that is to determine under what conditions and at what cost public transit can be provided and most importantly sustained. And then look at, once you've set up a good model, a business model, well, what's the governance structure for that? So we're going to be addressing things about who owns assets, accountability, and so on and so forth. And one thing I want to say is that each community is different, and I'm finding that throughout Nova Scotia. It's different makeups of council and conviction, and economies are different. There's different challenges. So there isn't one solution that fits anybody. And what I'm seeing here is a unique solution that Councillor Deputy Warden Paquette was looking for. So this is what we're asking the very focus group participants in and I'd like your input to this. What are your expectations? You're closer to your electorate. What are their concerns? If you have time to give me some priorities, that would be helpful. Skip that. So what we do, undertake a lot of what's called peer reviews. And we look at municipalities where we have data available across Canada for populations similar in size and similar in density. And what you'll see here is, not on purpose, a lot of Ontario systems that we use on the paratransit. Now, paratransit is the door-to-door wheelchair accessible service. Those that cannot walk 100 meters to get to a bus stop, for example. That's a kind of a loose definition. So we looked at probably about 20 communities across Canada, some in Nova Scotia. And what we did is we looked at some statistics. These are number of registrants. So these are people that qualify for the door-to-door service. Little different here with Dial-A-Ride. You have an open system, which is, I think, great. And that gives you a kind of you have like 0.02 or 0.03 persons per capita are mobility impaired. And that is growing as the population ages. So it gives you a ballpark of what you can expect down the road. Here we look at, what's the cost of providing service for every trip. So every person that's carried, every single person, the median value is somewhere around $20. Okay? And this is, and then, how many people are going to ride the system? Those that are using it, how much uses are going to be in the municipality, and that we use that as a gauge. And I think you're there already. I think you're beyond the median. I was really impressed with the numbers I saw. And then this is what councils have to deal with, is those that aren't meeting the needs. It's because they're not spending the money that's required. So far, so good here from what I can see. And but that's the net cost to the taxpayer on a per capita basis, around $7.5. That's just for the door-to-door service. And then we looked at transit. That would be like Huts Transit, be like Metro Transit, but we don't use that as an example. So we look across Canada, and we've got Yarmouth up there in the 10,000 10,000 population group. It doesn't include the town. So these are some of the stats that we use. How many hours per capita of service should you be providing, or what's the median? What's everybody else doing? Okay, and that gives us something to gauge things on. This total cost per hour, it's all over the map, from as low as $50 up to $100, $150 in some cases. And again, it's all based on local, pay rates and the type of fleet that you have. Then we looked at, how many people are going to ride the system. Fortunately, we used the median value. Banff, Alberta is way up there, but it gets taken out of the equation, so it's quite low in this population group. So we want to, anytime we project ridership, we want to be reasonable. We don't want to overestimate, because you're playing with taxpayers' money. And that gives you the net operating cost per capita is around $15, $20, just under $15. So you take that, you add the paratransit, you're up around $25 per capita is what the median investment is. Now, these are the types of vehicles that are out there. At the top left, you see them in Halifax. The one on the right is similar to that as well, but it is a large community bus. They're available. The ones in the bottom left, that's kind of what I'm looking at for maybe an application here, because the one on the right is what you're using cutaways, you're using vans. And the cost to operate a 24 to 27 foot bus, not much more than a 15 passenger van, because they have a longer life cycle. They're built for 7 years, not 3 years or 5 years. And they can accommodate some markets that aren't being accommodated today. So these are your service types. That fixed route conventional transit, that's Halifax. That's King's Transit, going through the county and Annapolis. Then you've got fixed route community bus, which is a service that isn't frequent, but it hits as many origins and destinations and shopping centers and hospitals as possible, because people aren't in a rush to get there. Okay. Then you have fixed flex route. That's a US type of system where you have a bus, let's say a conventional bus that goes along a road, links up communities, but it will deviate for a couple of minutes to pick somebody up in a wheelchair or a walker that can't get to it and bring it back. Now that's important. I'm trying to get the province, based on my other studies, to say maybe this qualifies for additional funding, because they only do door-to-door specialized transit funding. So maybe this can get thrown in the equation. And that's what we're looking up at in the Strait area right now. Then there's fixed route shared ride taxi. Okay, there you can use a taxi, negotiate a reasonable rate. Instead of paying them charging you $60 an hour, maybe you can do $40 or $40 or $45 an hour, and use them where they have capacity. If you're only 2 or 3 people, then maybe they're an option to consider. Dial-a-ride is what you have today, but you carry both disabled and able-bodied people. And then you have demand response and specialized transit as well. So the last two is what you have here in the district. One of the things that we talk about is affordability. If we're saying if you have a decent level of service, you're not going to convince everybody to sell their cars and jump on the bus. That ain't going to happen. Okay. But what would happen is if you've got a 2 or 3 car family and they're out there, if you have some reasonable transportation, get people to and from work, and a lot of people work in the town, maybe they don't need that second car or that third car. And that's what this is what you, I think, want to do, because if that person can save $5,000 to $8,000 a year in owning a car, a used car, they are going to be spending that in the community instead of wasting it on gas and insurance and maintenance. Okay, so gives them more disposable income. These are the focus groups we've met with. Tomorrow, our last meeting is going to be with municipal staff. and basically to tell them what, really what transit's all about, just to educate them a bit and talk about, from a financial perspective, what can be considered. And the next step, so we've compiled a lot of information, we've summarized our focus group meetings, and we'll continue to by the end of the week. And we're going to do a community web-based survey, so we can post it on the community website, and I believe you have a Facebook page that we can link up. So as a result of all the information I've gathered, I got to fine-tune that questionnaire, send it out for some testing with some of the agencies who will actually sit down with their registrants or their clients and fill it out for them, because a lot of people don't have access to the internet, right? So we'll do that. So they have that option. And then what we'll do is come back and kind of estimate the demand based on various types of service. You have growing demand. Your Hope Dollaride said they're growing about 15 to 20 passengers, registrants per month. That's significant growth. Over time, that's very good. And then we're going to shortlist some concepts, go back to the focus groups and say, look, here's the things we're brainstorming in these sessions. This is what we're looking at. What do you think? So they come back and they say, you know what? Yeah, that's what we're saying, but maybe you want to tweak this. And we also base that on what we hear from the community survey, the web-based survey. Put it all together, take it back to the community, and then go out and develop a 5-year service and financial plan and discuss that with the steering committee, then take it to the public next year, early next year. So that's, I hope I didn't go too fast. I just, and I guess at this point, if you have any questions, you've got some concerns or something you don't understand, I'm here.
And just some basic questions. So, given what you've seen to this point, has there been any development or any thought in terms of what type of route this service would follow within the municipality and town, for instance?
We're in terms of the town, we're staying out of that, Ken, right? Is that? Well, I had a Councillor Dennis from the town of Yarmouth, and she asked that question. Well, how come we're not part of it? And I couldn't answer other than, I said, you can be, just throw some money in. But no, we can't ignore Huts Transit being there. So we'll probably look at feeder services. I'm finding some weird things like that Huts and the taxi industry don't allow Hope Dollaride to pick up and drop off within the town unless it's for a wheelchair accessible medical appointment. Doesn't make sense. So anyways, I'm sure I'll be identifying that as a challenge and something that somebody should just get rid of, because in how we're going to approach this, we need the taxi industry, so maybe we can, it's an opportunity to rob Peter to pay Paul, so they're not offended, I guess. But yeah, I mean, you can, one of the things we thought about is you're not going to have a huge demand, but you got a growing demand, and there are issues. You're losing people, and they're going into the town because they can't afford to take taxis to go in to get medical appointments. They cannot access jobs. So maybe there's a way to build on how Hope Dollaride is working today, and maybe increase it a bit so they can get the people going to and from work. Because I'm hearing, I'm hearing contradicting views, but people just not even calling Hope because they think it's wheelchair accessible only, and there's a branding issue there, so we address that. But also that I heard that nobody gets turned down, and somebody else is saying, yeah, they do. Because I asked that question, are you turning down any trips? No. Well, other people are saying different, so somewhere in between is the truth. And the other thing too, you don't need to, in some areas, you don't have to go, 7 days a week, 12, 14 hours a day. It might be just sending out a bus a couple of days a week to get people at the end of the month, seniors, out of their homes, and bring them into town, go shopping, get them back. It doesn't have to be every day. It could be 2 days at the end of the month. Okay, so these are little things that are coming up, and it wasn't us, although we've done this elsewhere, but it was them telling us that. So that's one of the things we're looking at.
Yeah, you had touched on something interesting when you were answering Councillor Cunningham's question about licensing and how all that interacts. Do you see that being a problem? Because I'm personally unsure how that works.
Well, when Hope Dial-A-Ride was established in 1999, I think.
99, yeah.
Yeah. Taxi industry, typically, they're like this because it's new, right? And same with us, you know, that they're going to steal from them.
Mm-hmm.
And that I've never, you know, I've heard that perception, and I'm doing an implementation in the town of Bradford, West Gwillimbury, farming area,
Mm-hmm.
But they're going to be part of the solution. So they're going okay.
Something that I've heard out my way where I live, out in the Carleton area, which is roughly a 25-minute drive from here, is they'd like to see a service like the Transport to Clare has, and like you said, not necessarily every day, but maybe once a week or twice towards the end of the month, or once every other week. I'm not sure, but that's going to be interesting to see, because there's quite a large senior population with a lot of the kids that's moved out west to work, and they're home alone, and they're relying on different people in the village to get out, and
well,
they like a schedule.
Yeah, that's a very good point. That you're saying that the younger, that's one of the things we're finding too, is a lot of the youth are moving.
Mm-hmm.
Parents are left here, and in a lot of cases, and the Transport to Clare, I've worked with, I was involved with when I did Annapolis in the district of Digby and town of Digby. We were doing with a fixed route service, not a door-to-door, so they weren't too happy, but I talked to Clarendon, who runs it. He's the founder of it, and he's part of this focus group. So he wasn't able to make it because he's at meetings in Halifax, so him and I will have a one-on-one conference
Yeah,
call.
absolutely.
Yeah, I've worked with him before, so, and there was somebody on the focus group whose husband works with him.
Yeah.
So that gave me some insights.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you very much for your time. Looking forward to this.
Okay, thank you very much for
Okay.
bringing that, leaving that with council, and we'll definitely be looking at that and working on it in the near future. Thank you.
Thank you for the hospitality and this windy weather. Now I have to buy a new hat.
Okay, we'll move on to Business Horizon 6.1, letter from CUPW, the Future of Canada Post from November 13th. You've had a chance to review that. Any wishes of council on that?
That was just more or less information.
I'm not sure, John. I briefed through it myself. Is that strictly information, Ken? The post office, or did they want a letter of support or something? Yeah. Me neither. Anyway. Yeah. So anyway, you have the information there, and if you want to proceed later on, we'll bring it back, okay? Thank you. 6.2, letter from Economic and Rural Development and Tourism on marketing funding.
Yeah, all this originally was an initiative from YASTA looking for a grant from the province, but what this letter here, which was signed by the mayor and wardens of all the municipalities who support YASTA to seek the $110,213 through the Southwest Nova Tourism Task Team, and that's exactly what YASTA is doing with that. So hopefully we'll be able to leverage some of our municipal monies that we all put into YASTA and be able to get some of that money as well that Minister Paris at the time had put forward. It's part of that $1 million is what the Nova Scotia Tourism Task Team was.
Thank you, Councillor. Recommendation from Committee of the Whole, Tri-County Women's Health Coalition was forwarded to regular council, so, Councillor?
I'll move that we ratify the decision to forward a letter of support to the Tri-County Women's Center, supporting the call for proposals regarding the prevention or responding to sexual violence against women and girls.
Okay, you have a motion on the floor. It's been seconded. Any discussion? Question being called. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Contrary, nay. Motion carried. Thank you, gentlemen. Moving on to new business. You have your October development report there and have reviewed it. So if no further discussion on that, a motion is in order to accept that development report.
I move to accept the development.
Do we have a seconder for that? Any further discussion? Question being called. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Contrary, nay. Motion carried. Thank you, gentlemen. 7.3, request of letter of support from the Municipal Alcohol Project. You have that information there. Does council have any direction they wish to go with that at this time?
Yeah, in this letter, the request was a letter of support for October the 1st, and unfortunately, Deputy Warden Paquette is not here to ask about that. And actually, I had a few questions in regards to that matter. I'm not sure if the funding date is passed or not. And it said here somewhere, it says, please send letters to me by Thursday, November the 21st. And even that date has gone by for a letter of support. But I would make a motion to offer a letter of support in principle to this group. So I'd make that a motion.
Okay, we have a motion. It's been seconded. Any discussion? Question being called. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Contrary, nay. Thank you. Motion carried. You have your committee reports in front of you. Any questions from council on any of the representatives set on those committees? If not, there you have them there for information. Okay. Item number 9 is in-camera recommendations. I'm not sure we have any this evening, do we? So hearing none. Motion for adjournment. Do we have a second?
Second.
Whew, this is the quickest ones. Stormy night. Okay, thank you, gentlemen.